Hey everybody, it's GombaX and welcome back to another Tinkerer's Cube draft. Let's just jump right into this one. So we've got some really powerful cards for some strategies I've done before that are both very powerful strategies. Anax for a heavily red-based aggressive deck. I've used this primarily in mono red, but Boros and Rakdos can make great use of this card as well. Obviously, in Boros, the theme in this cube is to go wide with a bunch of creatures, so having your creatures die and potentially spit out more creatures, make sure that you still have a bunch of stuff on the board even when you're trading off. So Anak's pretty good in Boros in that way, and in Rakdos the theme is sacrifice. Obviously when your creatures are dying and replacing themselves with more tokens, you get to re-sacrifice those tokens and get even more value out. So I like Anax a lot for red-based aggressive decks, and then Heliod is fantastic in the life gain decks, and that was the last deck that I drafted. Mainly white-black life gain is the premier strategy for that, but there's enough life gain in just white itself that you can really do white and any other color. I think I'm going to go with Heliod here. This card was just absolutely absurd in the last draft. I think when you have enough life gain to trigger it, which it's really not hard to do because it triggers any time you gain life, period, um, your your whole board just gets so large so quickly. It's really, really hard to race this card. And it also has that alternate effect being able to give lifelink just by itself. So even if you don't have anything to synergize with it, if you've got the extra mana up, you can spend 2 mana and give lifelink to one of your creatures so that you're triggering that +1/+1 counter ability pretty often. I don't love any of this stuff for the life gain decks. Squire's Devotion's alright in there. You get +1/+1 in lifelink, and then you spit out a little 1/1 vampire token. But I feel like if you don't have any other stuff to synergize with this, maybe you have some stuff that cares about creature tokens to synergize with that vampire token. Maybe you have some stuff that cares about auras to synergize with the enchantment half of this. If you don't have any of this, I don't think this card is that exciting. It's just a little expensive. I think Mechagodzilla is pretty fantastic, the Crystalline Giant, because this is a card that can go into any deck you have, and it's going to be a very solid aggressive play on turn 3. So we can take this, and it's basically like the most open card in this pack. Whatever we end up being in, the Crystalline Giant is always playable. So I'm going to actually just scoop up the Giant there. A little bit of a boring pick, but it leaves us open to whatever strategies we get past, just in case somebody to our right is also trying to do a life gain deck like one of these people, and they take all of our stuff in this first pack. That being said, it doesn't look like that's the case so far with a Daxos. 2 white is a little bit of a difficult cost for a multicolor deck to consistently play this on turn 2, but even playing this like turn 3 or turn 4, that ability to gain a life whenever one of your creatures enters the battlefield or dies is going to trigger your stuff like Heliod very often. Plus, with the double white in the mana cost, it is helping with 2 devotion towards Heliod's 5 to just become a 5/5 beater. So, really nice card there. I definitely like it better than the Famished Paladin. Famished Paladin is, I mean, it fits into the life gain decks, but it's not very impressive at all. The only thing it really combos well with the life gain, is that it just becomes basically a 3/3 with no drawback if you have enough life gain, which isn't even that exciting because you have to think if you get a Johnny's Pridemate, that card's just going to be infinitely more impressive than Famished Paladin basically immediately. Because a Johnny's Pridemate getting that +1/+1 counter whenever you gain life, you only have to gain 2 life, and all of a sudden you have a 4/4 with no drawback instead of a 3/3 with no drawback. So, Famished Paladin, not a card I'm super in love with. So, looks like no life gain here. What are kind of the best cards? I do love Runaway Steamkit and Mono Red, but we're pretty far away from that. I guess we could take it and really pivot. But like we passed an axe and stuff, so I feel like somebody to our left is going to be taking some kind of aggressive red deck. I don't think that that Mono Red will be super open this draft, but you never know. Outside of the obvious card that we're not going to take here, we've got like Ronom Unicorn or Karametra's Blessing or Reverent Hoplite. These would all be just decent playables. In a white-based deck, I guess for Karametra's Blessing, we do have Daxos and Heliod. We already have two different enchantment creatures, so this is 1 mana, give +2/+2 hexproof and indestructible at instant speed to either of those. I suppose Heliod is already indestructible. I kind of like taking the Reverent Hoplite here. We already have a little bit of a white devotion theme going on, with Heliod wanting us to have a lot of white devotion and Daxos giving us 2 white devotion. So we could take that and be pretty far in towards white here. And I do like Baleful Amit for triggering your life gain stuff, just a solid lifelinker. By itself, you throw the -1/-1 counter onto this, and it's still a 3/2 lifelinker. And if you have multiple creatures, say you turn 2 Daxos, then turn 3 play Baleful Amit, you just get to throw that -1/-1 counter on Daxos, because Daxos is rarely attacking anyway, and it'll have enough toughness thanks to its devotion ability, so. And then you can just get a 3 mana 4/3 lifelink, which is very impressive. But as I've said in previous drafts, I do really like any lifelinkers that have at least 3 power, because there are some powerful life gain effects that want you to gain 3 or more life in a turn, like Griffin Airy, and I don't remember what the others are called, but there's like a black-white Flying Angel that does stuff if you've gained 3 or more life. Some stuff cares about specifically 3 or more, so having those creatures that can trigger that all by themselves, so you don't actually have to stack together multiple life gain effects, can be quite good. So we've got Goblin Banneret and Krenko for mono red. Neither of these, I don't really love these either that much for mono red. Krenko can be pretty good in Rakdos or Boros, because you're getting all of those tokens. So in Boros, you're going wide and you're pumping up your whole field with some stuff. And in Rakdos, obviously, those are a bunch of little creatures to sacrifice. Goblin Banneret, definitely the most impressive for mono red. That being said, I think out of all of these cards, the most impressive card easily has to be Champion of Lambholt. This card is pretty bonkers. You don't have to make this very large at all to shut off all of your opponent's blockers. So a 3 mana 1/1, but whenever any other creature enters your battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and none of your opponent's creatures that have less power than Champion of Lambholt can block any of your creatures. It makes your entire field unblockable if it gets large enough, which is absolutely insane. There will be a lot of games in this format that will end up being sort of board stalls, where each player has just a ton of creatures or a ton of tokens, anything like that on the board. And being able to push through those situations makes Champion of Lambholt a pretty premier green card. So pretty nice that's still in the pack. And I think we may be pivoting more into like a green-white tokens deck here, seeing as there's no black in this pack again, and the white card isn't super impressive. This card's pretty fine. I mean, there are a lot of big creatures in the format, so you can exile those with the -2, but I kind of like just taking the first Iroan games here, so we can get some more stuff towards the green-white deck here, so we know we can be running the champion. And it's also a token producer. It only makes 1 token, but it is a lot of value off the 1 card. If your token doesn't immediately die, essentially the first turn you play this, you get a 1/1. Next turn, that 1/1 turns into a 4/4. The turn after that, you then draw 2 cards, and then after that, you also get a gold token. So a lot of stuff happening off that card. None of this is very exciting to me. Fateful End is good in any red deck. Gutterbones is good in Rakdos. Supreme Will can be okay in any blue-based tempo or control strategies. But really nothing I love here. I guess we could just take like the 1 mana 2/1 since it's in our current colors. There's nothing here that really makes me want to hop out of any of the colors we have right now. So we'll just take the kind of unexciting card here. We're not super likely to get a lot of knights, so this is mainly just a 1 mana 2/1. Get off the ground running, start getting aggressive. We can definitely take Fearless Fledgling here, although I do like the modal flip land cards, like the Black Bloom Rogue. I think that Fearless Fledgling has a lot of things that'll combo well with. Green-White also has a +1/+1 counter theme, so if we get anything like the Conclave Mentor, a green and a white for a 2/2 that doubles our +1/+1 counters, That can just be an insane curve with the Fearless Fledgling. I suppose the Conclave Mentor doesn't technically double the +1/+1 counters, it just adds an additional one every time. But when you have cards like Fearless Fledgling and Heliod that are just putting a single +1/+1 counter on something, then it essentially doubles it, because 1+1 is 2, obviously. So those are both pretty great for like the +1/+1 counter theme. We can take a Lead the Stampede. This is good in a deck with a lot of creatures in it. Or we can take Trusty Retriever. This works in... Yeah, I kind of like this because this works with a +1/+1 counter theme if we do end up in that kind of thing. And it also gives us the ability to return an artifact or enchantment from our grave to our hand. So we could return Mechagodzilla. If Mechagodzilla dies, we could return the first Our Own Games, which will sacrifice itself. And we could return like Daxos or Heliod. I don't know how Heliod would end up in the grave, seeing as he's indestructible. He's much more likely to just get exiled, but potentially we could return it with the Trusty Retriever. So we've got a green-white dual land, or we've got Siona. I'm actually going to make probably a little bit of a contentious pick here, and I'm just going to take the Temple of Plenty. And the reason is I really have not been a fan of the Enchantress-style strategies in the format, and that is where Siona really does stuff. Without the Enchantress strategy, she doesn't really do anything. She's a 3-mana 2/2. When she comes into play, look at the top 7, pick an aura out of them, and put it into your hand. We don't have any auras yet, and I've had pretty bad success with the Enchantress strategy, just with the amount of ways that there are to blow up enchantments in this cube. So I'm not really a fan of trying to hop into that. If anything, as our green-white strategy, we want to be more focused on tokens or +1/+1 counters. But that's just me personally. I think Siona is definitely a viable pick if that is what you're into. And now we have several really, really good cards to pick from. We have the Great Henge. This is going to be pretty hard to cast in our deck, unfortunately. This card's really good in like green-red or green-black, where you have a lot of big green creatures. Green-red, you're just ramping the big creatures, and green-black, you're reanimating them. But obviously, this is just great in the late game in any deck. But I do feel that we're very likely to just have a lot of small creatures, and this will be very difficult to cast. That being said, it is super powerful. But there's also Twin Blade Paladin for the life gain theme, getting a +1/+1 counter whenever we gain life, and whenever we're at 25 or more, it has Double Strike. That's fantastic. Wildwood Scourge will be fantastic in a +1/+1 counter theme. And Militia Bugler can draw us multiple small creatures. Bloomhole can proliferate all our counters. I kind of want to just go with the Wildwood Scourge here. A little bit of a weird pick here, but I am liking our little bit of a +1/+1 counter sub theme that we have right now. And I'd like to push more into that. So now we've got like Wildwood Scourge, Fearless Fledgling, Heliod, the first Our Own Games, Champion of Lambholt. These are all cards that do stuff with +1/+1 counters. Same as Trusty Retriever. So with all of those other ways to trigger Wildwood Scourge, this can definitely get bigger over time, which can be quite nice. So Collected Company is very nice if you have enough small creatures to grab with it. Right now we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because we can't take Wildwood Scourge off of it. So we have 8 cards we could actually get off Collected Company. I think we definitely want more than that. I like Sunscourge Champion a lot because this card is brutal against aggressive strategies. Especially mono red. This is like one of the scariest cards you could possibly see, because it's 3 mana for a 2/3 and you gain 3 life, and then it's 4 mana for a 4/4 and you gain 4 life. So I really like that card, but I think Collected Company just seems a little more fun and more powerful against a wider variety of strategies. We do have the Regal Bloodlord for Orzhov life gain now. Get a 1/1 bat every turn. Beginning of each end step 2 if we're gaining life in our opponent's turn. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 green cards in here. I kind of just want to take Regal Bloodlord. The only other card we'd take if we're in like white-green, we could take a Helm of the Host. A bit slow, but once it starts going off, it's very, very hard to beat. Just spamming out multiple copies of really any creature you have, but there are some creatures in our deck and in most decks that would be absolutely impossible to beat if we're Helm of the Hosting them, like Mechagodzilla, Affectionate Indrik, and Reverent Hoplite. These two because they have incredible enter the battlefield effects, and this one just because it stacks really well. And then we could also take Angelic Exaltation. That does work really well in board stalls too, especially in kind of a token-based deck, which we kind of have right now. So that's an option too. I think I'll take Oath of Kaya here. I think Oath of Kaya is pretty decent, just as a little removal spell. 3 mana for a sorcery, basically, to deal 3 to any target and gain 3 life. Get rid of one of your opponent's early creatures. The extra ability whenever your opponent attacks your planeswalkers is nice, but it's fine to run this card even if you don't have any planeswalkers in your deck like we don't right now. I think I like pushing more into white-black here. I'm a little worried that we are not seeing a lot of a lot of white in this pack, but we're seeing white-black cards, so that is a good sign. Fauna Shaman is a great green card if we were still on the green plan there, but with Regal Bloodlord into Oath of Kaya, I think I'm jumping ship on white-green, moving back into Orzhov, and it's definitely paying off with a Witch of the Moors. This card is absolutely bonkers if you could trigger it often. 5 mana for a 4/4 Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, if you gained life this turn, each opponent sacrifices a creature and you return a creature from your grave to hand. Really, really insane value if you can trigger that. Even just one time, it's a very impressive trigger, and if you're doing it multiple times, it's going to be incredibly hard for your opponent to fight that. We may have to run a Prophetic Prism in here just to hit 23 playables, so we'll throw that in there for now. Alright, what do we have? I guess we have Pride of Conquerors. If we're going wide, we can buff our whole field, +2/+2. Release the Dogs for going wide, just making a bunch of creatures. Or Seekers, Squire. When it enters the battlefield, it explores. I kind of like just the 2-drop little blocker here. None of these cards really synergize that well with our deck, and I definitely want to have some early game blockers in plays, because we're definitely going to try to win in the late game by comboing together some very powerful payoff cards like Witch of the Moors with a Heliod, or Witch of the Moors with Daxos, or Witch of the Moors with anything in our deck. That is just the only thing I'm trying to do right now. Just Witch of the Moors. Now we're just going to take the cards that are in our colors. I think Grateful Apparition is a little more fun in here than like Gustwalker or Mindrack Harpy. These cards don't synergize too well, but they're fine stats for the cost, whereas Grateful Apparition a little weaker at a base level. But if we get it out when we have Fearless Fledgling with counters on it, Seeker Squire with a counter, Heliod throwing a counter on something, we could proliferate a lot and do some fun things there. I guess we're taking start to finish, probably. I mean, what do the black cards do here? This is a pretty difficult black cost. I think we're definitely more likely to be heavy into white, so we don't really want double blacks, especially at an early mana cost, unless they're quite powerful, and I don't think Timuret is that good. We could take Gravebreaker Lamia as a 4/4 lifelinker. The ability to entomb something, throw something from your deck into the grave, doesn't do a lot in this deck, but it's still just a nice lifelinker. I think we're just taking start to finish there. Get a couple tokens and then sacrifice one to kill something. We definitely want to pick up some removal, and that is the first piece of removal we have so far. I think it's pretty important to pick that up. So yeah, Boros aggro would have been pretty open. Pretty nice deck we could have had here. I guess that's the closest to our colors because it's part white, so may as well. Soulscar Mage still in here. Mono red too could be fun. We're not playing any of these cards. I guess we have a lot of green cards in our sideboard, so we'll throw another green card in there and see if that works out. Doubt it. I really want to stick to white-black here. We only need to get 6 more playables to do so. But then we are running a deck with like Prophetic Prism just chilling. I guess Prophetic Prism does help hit our like double black costs, so it's not the end of the world. It also draws a card when it comes into play, so it kind of replaces itself. We could even play Warrant Warden, because we can cast this as Warrant just to slow down our opponents. And in the late game, if we have Prophetic Prism out, we can cast Warden and get ourselves a nice flying Vigilant token. So let's see what we have in the last pack. Well, we've got Hushbringer, or we've got Falconwrath Noble. I am very rarely in a situation where I want Hushbringer, because I feel like most decks are going to have plenty of Enter the Battlefield effects that they enjoy. I guess we don't have a ton, but we've got like Reverent Hoplight's a pretty big one. Maybe that's really it. That being said, Falconwrath Noble is just really, really good. This and Blood Artist, the cards that are draining your opponent for 1 life every time any creature dies, are really good at finishing the game and getting over these wild board states where both players have like a million creatures, because all of a sudden, while you're both just staring at each other and it's like whoever blinks first loses, if you put a Falconwrath Noble on that board, no matter who attacks first, your opponent is just going to lose a million life when creatures start trading with each other. So I definitely like the Falconwrath Noble a lot here. And there's, wow, 4 of these cards I really want for this deck. Lich's Caress is another removal spell. We only have one. We have 2 right now, I guess. We have Oath of Kaya, but this is unconditional removal. It can kill anything, and it gains 3 life when we do it. We have On Sarah's Wings, giving something +1/+1 flying, vigilance, and lifelink. Really good stats there. Danitha, just an efficient lifelinking beater, or the instant speed exile-based removal, 4 mana, exile a creature planeswalker, and we gain 2 life, so we're even triggering life gain cards off that. I think I'm going to take Vraska's Contempt first here. We're really hoping to wheel one of these 3. I don't know how likely that is, but we'll definitely see as things progress here. All right, another difficult pick. I don't think we have enough token production to take Divine Visitation. We've got some, but you really want a lot. For that, we've got 1. Yeah, we've only got like 3 different cards that trigger tokens. Obviously, Divine Visitation into Reverent Hoplite would be insane, but you have to also think about how many times you're going to draw Divine Visitation and then just draw a bunch of stuff that doesn't make tokens, which is pretty likely to happen in our deck. So don't think I'm taking that, but between Banishing Light and Nyx Fleece Ram, this is a really hard pick because Nyx Fleece Ram triggers our life gain every turn, and it slows down red decks really well, but Banishing Light's just another removal spell that can exile anything, which is really good to have because being able to take like one piece of your opponent's like 2 or 3 card combo is very important in this format. So I am going to take the Banishing Light. I would really love to wheel Nyx Fleece Ram, but I don't think it'll happen. We haven't been seeing a ton of like black-white life gain cards, so I think there's definitely at least one other person at the table in the strategy, and I think they'll probably just scoop up that Ram. Okay, what do we have here? Nothing super exciting. I guess Dreadhorde Invasion gives us a little 1/1 every turn, and if it gets big enough, it sends in as a 6/6 lifelinker. That's pretty cool. Works with Proliferate. Venerated Loxodon's nice too. I think I'll start with the Dreadhorde Invasion. Or I guess I'll roll with the Dreadhorde Invasion, I should say. Ooh, another pack with 3 very solid cards. Healer's Hawk. 1 mana, 1/1, flying lifelink. This is one of the best ways to trigger gaining a life every turn because it has evasion. There are a lot of 1 mana, 1/1 lifelinkers, but not a lot that can get flying or unblockable or anything like that. So Healer's Hawk is really nice for that. Unbreakable Formation, putting a counter on your entire field, giving them all vigilance and indestructible, leads to a really big swing, and your field is permanently better after that, so that's really good. And then Revival Revenge. Revenge to like double your life total and have your opponent's life total can often win the game pretty much immediately. I'm actually going to roll with the Healer's Hawk there because I want more stuff early on the curve. I want to try to keep things pretty cheap and pretty efficient in this deck. Revenge is really fun, and it could definitely win the game out of nowhere. So that I think would be the closest pick to the Healer's Hawk there. But I do really like me a Healer's Hawk, and now we'll just take a Vicious Offering as a removal spell. I don't think Ephemia really does anything in this deck, but it's the only card in our colors, unless I just take a Temple of Enlightenment so I could maybe keep the Warrant and Warden in. I guess I can take the white-black dual land, the Savai Triome. That seems pretty fine. I don't love Ephemia in here. I guess I have a few enchantments. I'm just going to take the dual land. Sanitarium Skeleton or Loyal Pegasus, neither of those are a card that I want to play in this deck. They're both fine cards, just not for this deck specifically. I think Loyal Pegasus is more likely to see play in here because we do have 3 other 1-mana creatures, so we could really go for an aggressive curve here. Now I guess I'm just hate drafting because I can't possibly play any of these cards. We did wheel On Sarah's Wings. I'm happy about that. I will run that. Now I can cut Warrant Warden and Prophetic Prism. We wheeled Nyx Fleece Ram as well. Okay. Okay, I'll absolutely take that. So we definitely don't have as many payoffs in this deck as we had in our last white-black life gain deck, but I think we have a really nice curve. We've got a lot of removal, so we're pretty interactive with our opponent. We're pretty good at trying to prevent them from comboing off with their cards. So I think this deck is pretty solid. It's just not super exciting from like a solitaire perspective of chaining together a bunch of insane things. but it's certainly got a lot going for it. Two more picks left here. I doubt we get anything even remotely playable for our deck here, but we'll see. Just a red and a blue card there. We'll see what the final card is. Compelling Argument, a little mill card. They did put a decent amount of mill in here, but I feel like mill is still usually just not great, and as such, it is rarely drafted. Alright, so I need to cut 2 cards. Let's sort by creature here, so we can see all our removal and stuff. I think I'm keeping like every non-creature card that I have in this deck in here. Start to Finish obviously is a 3 mana card. We're going to be playing that on turn 3 with the start half of it. It always sorts the split cards as the combined mana cost of both of them, so definitely sort those better so you can see what your actual curve looks like. Yeah, this deck looks super fine. Not the most exciting thing ever, but it's pretty solid. Pretty low curve, pretty aggressive. Okay, I kind of want to cut Loyal Pegasus, but I guess I should cut like Venerable Knight before that. Maybe I just cut the Knight and the Pegasus, and then bam, there's the deck. I could even cut a land here because the curve is so low in general. Let's see what our average mana cost is. 2.9? So just about 3. How are our colors looking? 17 white, 10 black. So I guess I cut like 1 swamp and then 1 Venerable Knight, I suppose. Do I have a single other knight in this deck? If I have like 1 or 2 other knights here, I think I would cut the Pegasus first, but yeah, I don't have a single other knight in here, so just a 1 mana 2/1 with no abilities. Yeah, I'll cut the Venerable Knight, and then we've got a deck. Don't love Vicious Offering in general, just because we don't have a lot of creatures that we'd be willing to sacrifice for it for the -5/-5 that often. But with an aggressive curve like this, we can just take out their first blocker, however small it is. Just use that as our first removal spell, and then we can hold on to our stuff like Vraska's Contempt or Banishing Light for their late game threats that wouldn't die to that. Let's turn off our Parallax card styles, and I think we've got a solid deck here. Solid chance at getting a pretty decent run here. Maybe like 4-3. Again, I'm not loving this deck, so I don't think it'll do fantastic, but you really never know. Scoop up them beautiful swamps. Come on, get in here. Join the party. And we gotta pick our sleeve because the extra life sleeve is broken. There we go. Let's head into round 1 with another Heliod-based life gain deck, because I had such a fun time with them last time. I think we're pretty all in on Heliod in terms of trying to combo with our life gain. I guess we have Heliod, Witch of the Moors, and Regal Bloodlord. Heliod and the Witch of the Moors are definitely the best ones in that sense. How many white sources do I have in this deck? I have 8 planes and a Savai Triome, so I have 9 white sources left in my deck right now. 9 out of 33 cards. 9 times 4 is 36, so I have more than a 1 in 4 chance of drawing a planes every draw step. And I have Seeker's Squire to look at the top card. Can I wait 4 turns, really? I feel like with Witch of the Moors I could. With Witch of the Moors and Healer's Hawk, if I can get those 2 together, I feel like I should probably mulligan here, but like Seeker's Squire really pushes me towards the keep here. I'm not confident about that choice, though. But Seeker's Squire giving me another look at the top. Alright, we did just immediately hit the plains. That's very nice. Still going to roll out the Seeker's Squire turn 2. We don't need to start gaining life with our Healer's Hawk until we have a good reason to. Sure, we could start going up in life and have a little bit of a safety valve if our opponent's on a really aggressive deck, but with green-white, I don't expect them to be that aggressive, and being able to just Healer's Hawk and Witch of the Moors is the strongest thing we can do there, and we can wait on that. I'm definitely going to Oath of Kaya Core Spirit Dancer before they play anything else, because we really want to kill Core Spirit Dancer before they can draw any cards off of it. Next turn, I think I'll be playing Healer's Hawk, so that I can turn 5 Witch of the Moors, and that could be absolutely massive. Fearless Fledgling is the draw. Unfortunately, I only get to play 1 card this turn, and I guess I don't have a 5th land in hand, so there's certainly an argument for having just dropped Fearless Fledgling and put a counter on it. But I'm going to play Healer's Hawk because I'm going to get bold here. Just because if I do draw into my 5th land next turn, I can trigger my Witch of the Moors immediately by sending in with Healer's Hawk, which will be very good. I won't get to return anything from my grave, but making them sacrifice a creature is beautiful here. They have to sacrifice Conclave Mentor or Destiny Spinner. Both of those are super solid cards. They sacrifice the Destiny Spinner. It stops me from countering their creatures and enchantments, but it doesn't combo into anything crazy like Conclave Mentor does. And there's the concession from our opponent. They were stuck on mana a little bit, but without the Witch of the Moors, our opponent was not going to be under that much pressure, so I feel like that game was really off the back of managing to draw the lands into the turn 5 Witch of the Moors. Because if they didn't have any removal to interact with us, not being able to kill the Witch of the Moors, or even just the Healer's Hawk, they were now going to have to just sacrifice a creature every single turn. And on top of the mana screw that they were feeling there was really not a way out, I believe they felt. Judging by the concession. Alright, so we're going first. We do have the mana to play our early drops this time, but again, the mana's awkward here. No black source immediately. How many black sources do I have in this deck? I have 1 less than my white sources, right? I've got 8. Yeah, I mean, I have some time. Healer's Hawk, Loyal's Pegasus. Healer's Hawk gains life. As soon as I hit black, I can stop my opponent from whatever they've been doing. At least creature-wise. I think this is fine. I actually think this is like a mildly better keep than my last one. But it's still definitely a sketchy one. Our opponent has 8 cards in hand since they were on the draw, and they start with a Swamp into a Gutter Bones. Ooh, Heliod is a fantastic draw if I hit any land in my whole deck. Next turn, that'll be an easy Heliod, start making our Healer's Hawk bigger, gaining more and more life. That will be beautiful. I suppose if I hit my Triome does come into play tapped, so I wouldn't be able to play Heliod immediately that turn. But if I hit any basic land, that'll be great. I've got 14 lands left in here, 32 cards. So a little less than a 50-50. I think we can get there relatively quickly. Alright, Earthshaker counter from our opponent. I don't know why they main phase 2'd that, because they could play it and then shut off Loyal Pegasus' ability to block. That was a little weird. They could have hit me for 2 more. Since my creatures are both flying anyway, they can't block with Kenner or anything. Of course, on this side of the board, we never didn't had it. We hit our turn 3 land on turn 3 to curve into Heliod, so that's really nice. Our opponent is on Rakdos, though, so I expect that they have a lot of removal. They could easily have a burn spell here to shoot Healer's Hawk, and then I can't attack with anything, because Loyal Pegasus cannot attack or block alone. That is definitely the biggest downside of the card. That's why I don't really like it, even in this deck, but I had to start running some just random nonsense, and I think Loyal Pegasus is much better than just the grounded 2-1 in this situation, even if Healer's Hawk ends up getting shot. Because if I just had the 2-1 on the ground, the Elite Vanguard or whatever it was, I would like block and trade with either one of these creatures, which both of them can just come back later anyway. So even that's just not nice. So another Plains is definitely awkward here, but at least I get to throw Lifelink onto Loyal Pegasus here, and then I can send in... I am going to have to lose a creature to the Scavenger if I want to send in. This is rough. because if I do send in, I'm gaining 2 life, which means I get to put the other flyer, whichever flyer survives, to like 4 power. But I guess the problem is then they get to just block Healer's Hawk. They get to block Healer's Hawk, and then I'm stuck with a 4 power Loyal Pegasus that can't attack or block. Nighthawk Scavenger is really rough for me here. We really need the black mana for any of our removal. Preferably Oath of Kaya, obviously, because Vicious Offering, in order for that to kill the Scavenger, we'd have to sacrifice something, or we have to trick them after a block. I guess we could do that. If we had a Swamp here instead of the 4th Plains, we would have been able to throw Lifelink onto Pegasus and just swing in, and then whenever they block, just give the Scavenger -2/-2, so it's a 0/1 until end of turn. It just dies. So our opponent is on 3 mana with 5 cards in hand, holding during the main phase. I think they definitely sent in with Gutterbones and Earthshaker Kenra, but I would not be surprised if the Nighthawk Scavenger just chills, because it holds off my flying attackers. They drop down a Runaway Steamkin. Very nice. That gets larger every time they cast a red spell, and once it has 4 power, they can remove 3 counters from it and add 3 red. There's a Fanatical Firebrand as well. That is able to shoot my Loyal Pegasus for 1 damage and kill it. Certainly nowhere near as bad as if they had removal for Healer's Hawk, because if they had removal for Healer's Hawk, they'd basically get to kill both of my flyers. Because, obviously, as I said before, Pegasus just can't do anything if it's the only creature on my board. So all they have to do is kill my 1 Healer's Hawk to shut off all my attackers and blockers. So we are just going to take 4 here. We can't really... like, I could trade with both and just slow them down, but that is not a game I'm winning with this in my hand. I've really got to just draw the Swamp, be able to clear out the Nighthawk Scavenger. Alright. Another black card. Again, with that 3 toughness, we can't attack into the Scavenger. Definitely looking like a loss this time due to a risky keep resulting in the mana issues that it looked like it could result in. So this was definitely the risk of keeping this hand. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. Kind of a coin flip there. And obviously we lost the flip this time around. Just send in with everybody. At this point I pretty much just die if I don't block. For 8, 10, 11, 12 with Firebrand's ability. Yeah, I have to block here. And if I am going to block with Healer's Hawk, I might as well block with Pegasus because it won't be able to block any other time, basically. So I'll throw Pegasus on Lannery. Worst case scenario there, they shoot it with the Firebrand, but they could already have done that at any time anyway. I don't love... I'm actually going to throw Healer's Hawk at Lannery so that I know that Lannery dies, and then maybe Pegasus on Kenra. The problem with that is they're only 1 mana away from bringing Kenra back as a 4/4 haste and shutting off one of my blockers, but if I throw it on Gutterbones, they just have enough mana to bring Gutterbones back right now. I don't love any of my blocks that are available to me here, but Healer's Hawk on Lannery is definitely the best one I have. So I think we block there. Definitely throw Lifelink onto Pegasus, why not? Gain some life or kill their Firebrand. We get to throw some counters onto Heliod. Heliod's never going to have enough devotion to attack or block this game, but we still get to do it. Just in case. Our opponent's thinking through things here. They may just throw Fanatical Firebrand at Loyal Pegasus. just to keep the 2-1 on the board, because they actually don't have enough mana to immediately recast Gutterbones. They can just bring it back to their hand. So, just to keep things really aggressive so they know that I can't draw into any like big life gain fast enough. Just keep as much power on the board as possible. And they just have another removal spell, I guess. Remove the counter from Healer's Hawk, making it only 1 power so it doesn't kill Lannery. Well, that's pretty rough all around. That is kind of funny, though. I mean, well, yeah, could have just done that earlier. It is kind of funny, though, because they might have had that in their hand for a while, but since I got to put a +1/+1 counter on my my Healer's Hawk, ooh, that's brutal. It wouldn't even matter if I hit the swamp at this point. I just get the Oath of Kaya, their Runaway Steamkin, take 8. I guess I would gain 3, go to 9, but then I'd take 9 because Lannery sacrifices a treasure. Ooh, we got a Hexproof Mecha Godzilla, nice. I don't remember what I was saying a second ago. Oh yeah, they probably had Heartless Act in their hand for a while, but because I got to get a +1/+1 counter on the Healer's Hawk immediately, they just couldn't kill it, and it was basically the only important creature. So that was kind of funny. I don't know what they're holding for here. Just gonna show off, I guess. I'll just scoop them up. All right. Let's head into our next round here. We're 1-1. Had a really fast victory and a slightly slower loss. But also quite a quick game. Really got the fuel going on today. Nitrous oxide. Ooh. We've certainly got the ability to draw monocolored hands today. This one's a definite keep, though, with 4 playable cards. I can stand to not draw any lands for quite a while off of this hand. So I think this is easily the safest keep I've done all day. I'm going to play Fearless Fledgling first, so I can start getting counters on it whenever I play other lands. And then I think I'll play Grateful Apparition next, so I can start throwing more counters onto it with Grateful Apparition. Of course, that's if I don't draw another land. If I draw another land, I may just Heliod first. I suppose I don't have a way to gain life unless I'm paying the additional mana into that, and I don't really want to pay the additional mana right now. 1, 2, 3. My Devotion to White will be 3 once I play 1 card here. If I play Heliod and then I draw into any land, I can play Grateful Apparition and Rotom Unicorn in 1 turn next turn, and then I have 5 Devotion to White. So I get to send him with the 5/5 on the ground. Yeah, I'm gonna go for that. Again, just dropping down Grateful Apparition would be the more consistent play there, because no matter what happens, if they don't kill my stuff, I get to throw another counter on Fledgling next turn. Alright, and we did draw the land, which means this turn's going to be fantastic. Send in with Heliod. Let's go. And they scoop them up. Alright. So, sort of another coin flippy hand there where we just drew all the lands for it. Maybe that's just what happens when you run 16 land decks. The hands have definitely been more like win or loss based on our mana distribution than usual. Because I think that game against Rakdos, you know, if we just hit our black mana early enough, we had tons of interaction against them, and most of it would gain life. We had a Heliod on the board the whole time, so we could have easily survived and taken over that game with life gain had we hit our black mana. Our opponent had a very nice aggressive start, though, so we would have had to hit the black mana pretty early on curve. So we have to hit any land here to play Heliod, but other than that, this hand is really defensive, which is kind of weird. Just a bunch of removal. So it all kind of depends on what our opponent is playing. If our opponent is playing like a an aggressive deck with cards that don't like come back from the grave, like not stuff like Gutterbones or Earthshaker Kenner, then I think this hand's pretty fine. If our opponent's on a slower deck, this might be a little sketchy, but I suppose we have like Vraska's Contempt and Banishing Light for any threat later. And this is pretty solid. I think if it weren't for Vicious Offering, I definitely wouldn't keep it, but Vicious Offering gives us defense against their first quick attacker, if they are pretty aggressive, and definitely looking more slow with a Triome into a Plains into Treasure Map. We get turn 3 Mechagodzilla now, that can be quite nice. Definitely playing that over Heliod with no real life gain to combo with Heliod currently. Alright, well I'm going to kill that before it attacks so they can't get the treasure token out of it. Because that could also fix their mana if they are 3 color. They're definitely red-white because they've got a mountain and a plains, but they may also be blue because of this Triome. They could also just be running the Triome to fix red and white, like we're running a Triome to fix white-black. So Mechagodzilla comes out, gets a +1/+1 counter first. I think the best ability to get first is almost always hexproof, but counter's pretty solid too. There are a ton of different things that could go on to it, so you can never really count on anything with this. Ooh, Lifelink! That combos with our deck real well. So I played my land and sent in here, rather than playing anything else pre-combat. Like, I could have played Heliod pre-combat just in case I hit Lifelink, but I wanted to hold up Vraska's Contempt in case they had a pump spell, because if they had a pump spell with First Strike, they could just eat Mechagodzilla. I think now, though, I'll play Falconwrath Noble or Heliod, which is going to be better. I mean, Heliod's going to start putting a counter on Mechagodzilla every time it swings now. That's pretty good. I also think holding up Vraska's Contempt is viable. I'm going to drop Heliod. See what they have here. They scried something to the top, so something they want to hit. Ooh, removal for Mechagodzilla, perhaps? Yep, Banefire Mechagodzilla for 4, sure. Nothing we could do about that. We don't have anything to protect our Mechagodzilla in our hand. Now I can play Dreadhorde Invasion and Banishing Light to kill Danitha, or I can just play like Falconwrath Noble. I kind of think I have to get Danitha off this board because all my creatures are 1/1s or 2/2s now, so we'll do Dreadhorde Invasion plus Banishing Light. Because we still have a Vraska's Contempt for their next threat, and they only have 2 cards in hand. Basri Ket. That doesn't do anything if you don't have any creatures on the board, so that is fine. If it makes it to 6, it does, but for now, just put a +1/+1 counter on nothing just to go to 4 loyalty. It's going to take a little while before Basri does something, and we can hopefully just get him with our zombie army. We've got an Oath of Kaya now. Could shoot Basri for 3. That doesn't seem necessary. I think I just play Falconwrath Noble and pass. Unfortunately, our zombie army is not a hasty zombie army, so Basri gets to hang around a little bit longer. They scry off the treasure map. On the next scry, they will flip the map, get some treasure tokens, and be able to draw cards off of it. An axe hardened in the forge. Well, that'll get a +1/+1 counter. And Saheeli.
What an interesting creature. Let's see how you work.
Can turn one of their creatures into a treasure map now. So like satyr tokens. Oh, I guess only artifacts can become copies of other artifacts. I thought it was artifact or creature. Oh, I see what it is. Target artifact you control becomes a copy of another artifact or creature. So the artifacts can become an artifact or creature, not the other way around. Cool card, though. I think we just Vraska's Contempt and Axe. And then gain a life off Heliod puts... Yeah, that seems really good. Because that's going to put a +1/+1 counter onto one of our creatures. I'll put it on the zombie army so it's closer to getting lifelink. And that puts our creatures at big enough to kill Basri or Saheeli. I like killing Basri. I like killing Saheeli too. You know what? I'm going to kill Saheeli first. Because if they draw any non-creature spell, they get to spit out a servo token off of it. And with Basri, if they draw a creature, they're just putting a single +1/+1 counter on it, which is not that scary at all.
History is written by the victors.
We've still got time to kill Basri, so we don't need that off the board immediately. And Huatli, what, they make a 3/3 dino, I guess? Which isn't even that great here. Deals X divided as you choose. Oh, they can kill our Falconwrath Noble with the minus ability. That's probably the best they can do here, because they know she's going to die on the crackback. Alright, fair. Can you target Planeswalkers with this? No. Okay, well. The damage to the face it is. Get another counter on our zombie. This is going to 5 here, so if I play an Oath of Kaya to gain some more life, I can put it to 6 and then send in with a big lifelinking zombie army. But it can already get lifelink just by spending 2 mana off of Heliod, so I probably don't want to waste the Oath of Kaya. Grateful Apparition coming up. Yeah, let's just give it traditional lifelink from Heliod, then Dreadhorde Invasion lifelink. Make sure Basri doesn't ultimate, and then play Grateful Apparition.
This is getting rough.
He's got 3 Devotion to white, so if I play Fledgling and Oath of Kaya next turn, I could attack with Heliod as well. Alright, our opponent does get to start drawing a lot of cards off of the treasure maps, but I'm really liking our board here. Heliod plus Dreadhorde Invasion, just a pretty solid combo.
I will guard your advance.
I get to send my Grateful Apparition at Huatli and finish her off that way. And then I'll send my Lifelinker at Basri. They have to basically just chump with that token or Basri dies. If I draw land, I can play Fledgling and a land, and then I can start proliferating onto that with the Grateful Apparition. All That Glitters, turning that into a 7/7. Okay, well, I'm going to play Fearless Fledgling before I play a land here to get a counter on it. I kind of want to just Oath of Kaya, so I gain another life, put my token to an 8/8. Shoot their face here. Put a counter on Heliod. And then... I literally just said I was going to put the counter on my my 7/7. Well, that's fine. Albeit a little embarrassing. So I trade with their dino here now. That's fine. I get a new zombie. I don't know what happened with my brain there. That was a weird brain fart. Definitely gave them some value I didn't need to there. Oh, well, I guess, yeah, since I have enough creatures that Heliod's going at their face too, this does put a lot of pressure on them to potentially just block Heliod here instead. Just let Basri die, because all Basri's doing is putting a +1/+1 counter on dudes. Yeah, I don't even think Basri's really that important for them. So the only reason they block the 7/7 is if they just really wanted to kill the 7/7. So the reason that I put the counter on Heliod there instead is because my mind just defaulted to wanting to spread out my counters for Proliferate as well as possible, but I really should have made that an 8/8 first so it couldn't possibly die to their dinosaur token. So I think that's what it was. My mind was just trying to shortcut things when it should not have been. That was a bad shortcut to try. Release the dogs. Well, we get in with flying still. And if they want to kill our zombie token, they now have to block it with a whole ton of stuff. You can kill Fledgling off a triple block. I think we're still definitely just sending in with everything. I could start to finish to kill the dinosaur, but I still want to save that for even scarier stuff. I guess if they kill... Ooh, yeah, I didn't think of that. If they kill Fearless Fledgling, then I don't have enough Devotion to white for Heliod to keep attacking. That's kind of a thing. Down to 11, get a counter on all our stuff. Throw another counter onto Grateful Apparition, I guess. And Grateful Apparition, and Grateful Apparition. Proliferate. I think we're still fine. Lot of punts this game. I think we've punted enough times here, we might have even been able to kill our opponent by now. But the combos in this kind of deck give you just enough synergies, enough things going off that we have such an incredibly solid lead, I really don't think it'll matter. Sigiled Sword of Valoron, they can start getting some Knight tokens and attacking with Vigilance. So they can try to outrace the life gain. Not really going to work. We're getting 17 a turn now. I guess 18 a turn. Definitely gaining more than we're taking. Alright. Healer's Hawk. Now we've got enough devotion for Heliod again. Pretty good draw. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think I'm still going to hold on to finish here. So let's just gain the lives. Send in the attacks. I don't even have enough mana to cast start and finish in the same turn here. Make sure to give lifelink. Alright. Start making a really big Healer's Hawk now, so we have more flying threats to get over their board. And pass. This is just really Heliod single-handedly running away with it, as Heliod tends to do. Could spit out some tokens at instant speed for some chump blocks here, but it's pretty unnecessary. They go to 6. They're still very dead in the sky, and they scoop them up. Alright, I believe that's 3 wins now. 3 wins, 1 loss, something like that. Yep, 3 wins, 1 loss. Pretty nice run for this white-black life gain deck. Definitely, as I said before, I don't think it's as strong as our last one, but it's got more removal, which is pretty important and very nice. So we'll see how well this one does. I'm not so sure this one will make it to 7 wins, but we're definitely having a positive record at least now. We're going at least 3-3 here, and I doubt I'm going to lose both of the next 2 games. I think we can get this to a nice 4-3 run. That was my hopes and dreams at the start of this, my guesstimate. So we have Dreadhorde Invasion into Heliod. That was pretty solid last time. And if we make it to 5 mana, Witch of the Moor is going to do insane things as well. Card is just absolutely brutal. Make our opponent sacrifice a creature every turn. Alright, I guess I'll play a Plains first. I'm pretty unlikely to want to play Daxos turn 2, but if I hit another Plains, I like having the option. Alright, didn't hit another Plains, so Dreadhorde Invasion it is. And Fiend Artisan will start things for our opponent. Gets +1/+1 for each creature in their grave, and they can sack a creature, search their library for any card with converted mana cost X or less, shuffle it, put it onto the battlefield. But they can only use that as a sorcery. It is still a very good ability, though. So, do I just drop down Heliod, or do I hold up for start to finish? Kind of like start to finish here, so that I can have finish in my graveyard and be able to shoot their thing. At the same time, if I play Heliod, then if I draw into Onsera's Wings next turn, I can just get off the ground running, throwing counters and everything. That seems a little bold. I'm pretty scared of what Fiend Artisan can hit out of their deck. Alright, end of turn, start it is. And we're definitely going to be sending in with these 1/1 tokens. We did hit the mana for Onsera's Wings. I could also finish the Fiend Artisan. We don't need to kill Fiend Artisan until they play another creature. So, plus I have Vraska's Contempt to kill something at instant speed. I don't even think I need to Onsera's Wings here. I think I just send in and pass. Hold up Vraska's Contempt to be really safe. But we're off to a good aggressive start. Dreadhorde Invasion's going to throw a 3rd counter on this. We don't really need to commit anything more to this board. We can play really safe. Zombie Army and Warriors. Okay, they get to kill our Warriors here. Or our Zombie. But they don't get to kill all 3 of our creatures. Alright. Alright, they're going to send in with the Fiend Artisan. because they're definitely not going to block. I feel like I might as well Vraska's Contempt here. Just gain some life, get rid of it. I've been wanting to get rid of it the second they play another creature anyway, just to be super safe. I can play a Witch of the Moors now, or I can play Daxos and finish. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I think I just drop Witch of the Moors. And then next turn I have enough mana to play Heliod and give something lifelink, which will trigger Witch of the Moors, and unfortunately our opponent is going to scoop them up. Looks like just stuck on mana. There might have been a 2-color deck only hitting the black mana in that one. Definitely a rough game for our opponent, but we have been there with our one loss. With our, I think it was our mono white hand with tons of black removal. It was a sad day for us. But I suppose today we've been at both sides of the table now. So 4-3 at the very least, really nice run. Really want to go 5 wins in this format. At 5 wins you get 4,000 gold out of it, and it costs 4,000 gold to enter. I think at 4 wins you only get like 3,000. It's a pretty rough prices for what you're getting for people that are trying to build up their collection. So for people that play a lot of Constructed and free-to-players like that. But seeing as I don't really care what's in my collection, and I pretty much own everything I need just from drafting a ton, it's not so bad for me. Alright, back again with the mono-colored hands, but Mechagodzilla turn 3 and we're on the play. I mean, just playing Mechagodzilla turn 3 on the play can often just end games, especially if you hit Hexproof before anything else. Seeker Squire is a fantastic draw, gives us a turn 2 play, so now we're curving 2 into 3, and we hit our white source. This hand is now beautiful. It's now just like really good. I can hold off on killing Dorat here and just drop down at Mechagodzilla, because I don't think that this is going to get large enough to survive an Oath of Kaya in one turn. So I can just Oath of Kaya it next turn if I really want to. Oh my god, Mechagodzilla immediately got Hexproof, which means I get to do Mechagodzilla Hexproof with Onsur's Wings here, and just go insane. They're holding back Dorat to stop my Seeker Squire, I guess. Alright, well, we're definitely throwing Onsur's Wings onto our Hexproofer. And now it's got double lifelink. Ooh, yeah. That's some solid stuff there. I think we just send at their face. They can get some servo tokens. They'll be on the ground, so they can't block our flying Mechagodzilla. So it's all good. They're definitely reading over the card, seeing what they can do here. Kasmina coming out, another card that can spit out tokens on the ground, so Mechagodzilla is still good to come in. Might be about time to Oath of Kaya Dorat, because if they play one more non-creature spell, Dorat goes to 4/4, and Mechagodzilla doesn't have First Strike right now, so Mechagodzilla would die if they block it with a 4/4. So I could also just play Heliod, and then I gain life, throw a counter on Mechagodzilla, and it doesn't matter if Dorat gets one bigger. That's pretty good too. I think both of these options are really solid. I'm just going to clear it out of the way first. We can Heliod next turn. So if I play Heliod and send in, Mechagodzilla goes to 5/5. I guess if Mechagodzilla gets the counter anyway, we're super safe. But throwing Mechagodzilla to 5/5 doesn't even necessarily make it big enough to survive Dorat, because they could play more than one instant or sorcery this turn, get Dorat up to like a 6/6. So I like just clearing out Dorat, because that's our last possible chance to do so with the 3 damage spell. Alright, well, it kind of really does look like Mechagodzilla's just going to do the thing. Throw Heliod out too, may as well. Got double vigilance too. Super nice. They are already dead from one swing from Mechagodzilla, so I think I'll spread out my counters and get a 2/3. Just in case they somehow have a way to get rid of Mechagodzilla. I don't see what they could do though. In blue-red, it's all going to be like targeted damage-based removal. Could be just trying to spectacle something here. Do I block with Secret? I'm not gonna do it. We'll just take 2. They can spectacle whatever they want. Because this could potentially be like something that deals damage to all creatures, and that's why they were just like sending in, I guess. I suppose then they'd send in with both of them. Alright, fight with fire on Seeker Squire. Mechagodzilla will be ending the game in the sky still. Fight with fire on Seeker's Squire, but the game has ended with our giant flyer. Yeah, that was kind of just the Mechagodzilla thing. You don't even need the Onslaughter's wings for it, because eventually it will just automatically get Flying Vigilance Lifelink, as we saw by doubling up on our, our abilities there pretty quickly. But really, yeah, the most important ability to get on Mechagodzilla is if you're lucky enough to get Hexproof turn 1. It's just so hard to beat. Like, our opponent could have had Fight with Fire in their hand that entire game and just been so sad. Certainly been on that side of the table. I had a game like that on Twitch with a green-black Reanimator deck, where I lost to a single Mechagodzilla. It definitely happens. Another mono-colored hand here. We've got Loyal Pegasus. If we draw any land, we get to play Heliod. Loyal Pegasus doesn't do anything by itself, though. We really need to hit a swamp so we can Dreadhorde Invasion, and then we can really start doing some stuff here. Super risky keep. I'm at 5 wins now, though, so no matter what, I'm getting 4,000 gold back out of this. I think I'm going to mulligan here, though. I just think this is just a pretty incredibly risky hand. This one's pretty risky, too, but we've got Nyx Fleece Ram turn 2, which at least can block. Loyal Pegasus could not attack or block alone. I'm going to keep this one. Since we've got both colors, I'm going to get rid of Reverend Hoplite, because we can just play Regal Bloodlord turn 5 with Nyx Fleece Ram on the board. That can be a real nice combo. And obviously, as soon as we hit one land, we could try to just win off a Mechagodzilla again. Card is pretty dumb. Opponent is on Rakdos so far, starting with a Grim Lavamancer. They can exile 2 cards from their graveyard to do 2 damage to any target. We're starting off with our Nyx Fleece Ram. Against an aggressive deck, I'd like to get the really high toughness creature and just start gaining a life every turn. Ronom Unicorn's an option as well. Dreamstalker Manticore coming out for our opponent. I think I will play the Ronom Unicorn here. I can use its ability at any time to just sacrifice it and kill the Dreamstalker Manticore. So that's really nice. I might want to play Mechagodzilla here, though, since I do have the 3 mana for it. My only thing I don't like about that is my opponent is on black and red, so they could very easily have a removal spell for Mechagodzilla quickly if it doesn't immediately get hexproof. So maybe I can try to draw out removal with our other creatures, but they're not going to use removal on Rotom Unicorn because I can sacrifice it in response to kill their creature. I don't know. I'm going to roll with Mechagodzilla. We'll just see what happens here. Lifelink first, that's pretty nice against an aggressive deck, but if they have removal, they have an opportunity to do it. They're going to send in with a Dreamstalker Manticore. If they want to use damage-based removal on our Nyx Fleece Ram, I think that's fine. I guess I have a 3/3 lifelinker out. I can kind of just take the 4. I'm going to block here, because if they end up using a damage spell to kill our Nyx Fleece Ram, that's one less spell they could have to kill Mechagodzilla with. You just play Nicol Bolas, okay. Kind of think I discard Regal Bloodlord just because we're pretty far from that. We're 2 mana off. Everything else we can cast here, and having a finish to kill like Nicol Bolas is pretty important. Vraska's Contempt we'd obviously love to use on Bolas, but we need to hit specifically a swamp for that, so I don't know how likely that is. I think I have to discard Regal Bloodlord. I don't love that. Ooh, that's not what I want to see. Because that means if I hit any other land next turn, I could have cast Regal Bloodlord, but I cannot cast Vraska's Contempt still. Well, I think I play Start so I can have finish in my graveyard. I can't really attack with Mechagodzilla into a 4/4. And Regal, or Rotom Unicorn doesn't change that. Okay, Mechagodzilla's got Reach now, cool. So we definitely need to kill Nicol Bolas before they hit 7 mana. If this card ever flips on you, you have just lost. It's got a minus, it starts with 7 loyalty. It has a -3 to kill basically anything. -4 to return anything from a grave to their field. +2 to draw 2 cards. Just a ridiculous card. You just cannot ever let that flip. If it flips, you have lost. In 99% of the games. They do have a Go for Blood to kill our Mechagodzilla. At least I gained the 3 life off the lifelink. But now we definitely have to kill Nicol Bolas off of our finish. Nicol Bolas still, even if you never flip the Bolas, just getting a 4/4 flyer and making me discard a card is great value too. Nicol Bolas just a sick card because now I had to both discard my Regal Bloodlord and cast a removal spell on it. So it's still like 2 for 1 to me in that way. I've got Rotom Unicorn. That is very likely to just trade for their Dreamstalker Manticore with its ability. So now we're kind of in a top deck war with our opponent. I don't love that because they've got like a Grim Lavamancer on the field too with 2 cards in grave, so they can get some value off of just using that effect over and over the course of this game. Oh my god, no. And now with the Jaya, they can -2 that to do 2 damage to any target.
Control is what defines
And all of their other stuff does an additional damage, so Grim Lavamancer does 3 damage and stuff like that. Well, we're just going to kill Manticore then, if they're going to shoot it with Jaya. So we got rid of one of Jaya's 2 damage shots. Spellgorger Weird coming in. Of course, with Jaya's static ability, that will be doing 5 damage instead of 4 damage, so we can't just block it with Nyx Fleece Ram. Even if they didn't have Jaya out, we could... they could use Grim Lavamancer's ability to finish it off after a block. So Vicious Offering is the draw. I can kill Spellgorger Weird if I sacrifice my 1/1, and then my opponent and myself are just staring at each other. I guess they can use Jaya's ability plus Grim Lavamancer's ability to kill Nyx Fleece Ram, so I'm actually going to attack Jaya with my 1/1 here. That'll put Jaya to 2, so if they want to use Grim Lavamancer plus Jaya to kill my Nyx Fleece Ram, they'll have to kill Jaya to do it now. Ooh, and if they do this now, they don't have enough cards to double up. Yeah, so we just Vicious Offering the Spellgorger Weird here. I guess they do, because now Spellgorger Weird goes to their grave, so they have 2 cards in grave. Alright, well... Still not the end of the world. They can double up Jaya plus Grim Lavamancer to kill Nyx Fleece Ram, but then they don't have any more activations of Grim Lavamancer. They're sitting there with a 1 loyalty Jaya and a 1/1 Lavamancer out. So we're kind of just back to the top deck war, if that is the plan. And if they don't kill Nyx Fleece Ram, I'm liking the top deck war because I'm at least getting some value just gaining a life every turn. Ooh, Trusty Retriever, get that Mechagodzilla back? Yeah. I mean, Grim Lavamancer does 3 damage per shot, which is rough, but we don't have another play here, really. So they can just shoot my Mechagodzilla with their Grim Lavamancer's ability for 3 as long as Jaya is still on the board. So we're definitely hoping to draw a Swamp for Vraska's Contempt so we can stop that beforehand. But I am really liking the Trusty Retriever. Definitely feels pretty rough discarding the Regal Bloodlord, because just imagine this game where we could actually cast Regal Bloodlord, because we can't cast Vraska's Contempt. So if Vraska's Contempt were in the grave, we could potentially be getting like a 1/1 every turn. With Nyx Fleece Ram plus Regal Bloodlord, but I suppose they probably would have doubled up Jaya plus Lavamancer to kill the Bloodlord in that position. So if I play Mechagodzilla, Mechagodzilla dies to just Grim Lavamancer's ability, so I think I hold off on it. until I can do something about Lavamancer or Jaya. So we'll just keep playing our other stuff first, I think. And start getting aggressive on Jaya. Could use Lavamancer's ability on this, but then I can drop down Mechagodzilla. Alright. So that does kill that, but now they have no cards in grave to shoot at Mechagodzilla, so they have the 2 damage from Jaya plus whatever burns in their hand. If they have 3 damage burn in their hand, they're already going to be able to kill Mechagodzilla with it at any point, so we'll just drop Mechagodzilla now so we can attack with it next turn. There are no haste counters for it to get, so we need to play it now if we want to attack next turn. So now we know it doesn't just die to Grim Lavamancer. They kill the Healer's Hawk.
Burn.
3 mana from their hand. Champion of Wits. Draw 2, discard 2. Probably trying to sift into some removal. Oh, I guess whatever 2 cards they discard, that is a really sick combo. They get to discard 2 cards. That's 2 cards in the grave for the Grim Lavamancer. Grim Lavamancer putting a tremendous amount of work in this game. That is unfortunate. We would love to be able to use our removal spell on Grim Lavamancer, but our mana is really not having a good time. But kind of this whole draft, our mana's been pretty rough. This is why I like drafting mono red so often. You can never get cut off of one color if you're only one color. I actually played a mono red deck off stream that went 7-2, I think, that literally ran 13 lands. It was 12 mountains and a Castle Embrith. That was a solid deck. And basically, when you get to run as few lands as that, you basically never get mana screwed. Or mana flooded, I mean. And it was because our curve was just so many like 1 and 2 mana cards that we could definitely afford just waiting on like our 3rd land. Oath of Kaya. Well, we get to finally kill Grim Lavamancer. Do I do that or do I just pass? I mean, we're kind of just chilling, really. I think I do that. Top deck war, recommence. Well, now they have the double blue to recast Champion of Wits from their grave. With the Eternalize ability, they can bring it back as a 4/4, draw 4 cards, discard 2. Pretty threatening. And a Ral.
You're welcome to try.
Well, our opponent has drawn some extra cards with stuff like Champion of Wits drawing 2, but they are firmly winning the top deck war right now. I did draw Trusty Retriever, that was pretty huge. Well, there's the Vraska's Contempt mana. Do I actually just kill Ral with that before they do anything crazy with Ral? They are scrying every single turn, and they can double up their first instant or sorcery every turn. That's pretty threatening. I'll just kill it.
I'm shocked to discover I lost.
Alright, well, that is a pass. Definitely shaping up to be a pretty long game here. Dreadhorde Invasion. With Nyx Fleece Ram, I don't even have to pay life into that. I'm just going to sit here at 29 now and start working on making a big old zombie. The problem is, when my zombie token trades off with Champion of Wits, they get to eternalize it. I am not sure I agree with the counterspell from our opponent there. just because of the fact that the Dreadhorde Invasion actually puts something on the board to potentially trade with Champion of Wits, and then Champion of Wits comes out and draws a ton of cards. Well, if they just have Shipwreck Dowser, I guess they just want to be annoying, which is fair. That is an option too. Oops. Definitely not attacking here. No, I think I still don't agree with countering Dreadhorde Invasion. I think you have basically no chance at all of losing if you let Dreadhorde Invasion resolve and then you have 2 counter spells back up with counter and then Dowser into another counter. But now they only have 1 counter spell up, so if I draw 2 like actual threatening cards, I could potentially do something here. Oh. Well, never mind. I guess, yeah, we don't know what their other cards are, so if their hand is just nothing but counters, then yeah, the counter on the Dreadhorde Invasion makes a lot of sense. Just gonna cast everything here. We gotta run them out of counter spells at some point. Can't just sandbag all my cards. Oh my god. How do you win a top deck war when every draw from your opponent is a counterspell? I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure that out myself right now. They've got an instant. Our Ram dies, but they gotta spend an instant on something. Oh, Prism gives them the second red for the castle. Fair enough. I'm pretty on tilt right now. I'm not even really paying attention. We don't have a way to win when their hand's just 50 counter spells. Alright, well. Loyal Pegasus, a pretty terrible card in this position. Which of the Moors? That would have been really cool a century ago. Like, it's firmly countered. Alright, I am going to scoop him up there. Pretty rough game overall. Jaya plus Grim Lavamancer was absolutely brutal, and it hurts especially hard when there's a viable removal spell to stop either of those targets just sitting in your hand the whole time, because you don't have the second black for it. Super rough one. But you win some, you lose some. The mana base is a little rough in this deck. We've got like 1 less black source than white sources, but we do have some double black, so it is a little awkward in that sense. Games like that are certainly going to happen, and at 5 wins, you can't get too mad about that. But I can get a little miffed, get a little annoyed for sure. What does miffed even mean? It means annoyed. Okay, cool. I'm using it in the right context. Thank you, Google. Well, Skymarcher Aspirant it is. Healer's Hawk is not going to be doing any work against a 1-2 reach. So let's get a 2-1 on the board. That could trade with that. Of course, that can come back from the graveyard for 5. They get to escape it and have it fight something. The Chainweb Arachneer is actually just very solid against us on this current board with our current hand. We're going to play Daxos, because as I said before, Healer's Hawk does not line up against a 1-2 reach well. I guess they do have to exile 4 other cards to escape it, so it's going to be a while, so we may still take the trade with Skymarcher Aspirant. At this point, I have a 2-3 on the board, so I mean, if they attack, I'm just blocking with a 2-3. But maybe like sending in an attack with our 2-1 isn't that bad. Could even Oath of Kaya the Chain Web. And hope it takes them a while to trigger that, to get that off the ground running. Champion of Lamholt, never mind. That is an absolute must-kill target every time you see it. We're just shooting that immediately. So that our creatures can actually block at some point this game. I'm going to pass here. We've got 6 permanents on the board, so we are 4 away from our Skymarcher Aspirant having flying, which will be cool. That being said, at that point it is just going to trade with the Chainweb Arachneer. I think we drop down the Seeker Squire and Dreadhorde Invasion. Let's see what's on top and start getting some zombie tokens. Alright, another land. That's our 5th mana. Drop a Dreadhorde Invasion. We've got the mana ready for like Witch of the Moors. That would be really good with a Nyxfleece Ram in our hand. And I guess, yeah, Witch of the Moors would be absurd here, because we could play it, we would gain a life off of Daxos' ability, which means it would trigger once right there, and then next turn we could play the Ram, and it would trigger every turn. Actually, it already triggers every turn, because Daxos plus Dreadhorde Invasion. Well, if our 1-1 keeps dying, I guess this just makes the 1-1 bigger on future turns. Alright, we have ascended. Skymarcher Aspirant is flying. It flies right into that 2-3 reach. So we play Healer's Hawk and Ram, I guess. Suppose now they know everything in our hand, but we were going to play all these cards anyway. I guess I should have played the Swamp. Maybe they're mildly scared. In that reality. Arden Vale Tactician, 2-3 flyer coming on out. Okay. Another good flying blocker, so we're not getting anywhere with Healer's Hawk or Skymarcher Aspirant. We're just, ooh, hoo-hoo. Alright, I was going to say, we're just looking to draw any of our big life gain payoff cards, like Heliod, or Witch of the Moors, or Regal Bloodlord, but I kind of forgot about Regal Bloodlord. But that works as well. Now we're just going to start spreading out our board with a ton of flying bats. And our board is going to keep getting bigger with Dreadhorde Invasion. So we're going to keep getting more creatures, and we're going to keep getting bigger creatures. So we can really just sit here forever, and eventually we win. So I think we're in a pretty solid state here to kind of turn things into a top deck war between us. If it gets to that point, my engine kind of just keeps on ticking all by itself. And eventually I get to start sending in. I don't really get to send in right now. If I sent in last turn, the only way I'm chipping away with some damage is if I send in with a lot of stuff. And if I send in with a lot of stuff, I have too many small things. Some of them are definitely going to die. Definitely not sending it with Bloodlord, because they could double block with their 2-3 flyer and their 2-3 reach. Not sending with Aspirant, because they can just single block with the 2-3 reach. Don't really have great attacks here. And now we get to cycle away a Savai Triome, which is pretty nice. We're going to tap that way, so I could play a Plains if I need double white, and if I need double black, I've got double black up. And now we draw into Mechagodzilla. That could be another pretty scary threat for this board. All depends on the abilities we get out of it. Our opponent is going to have their own value engine going off with the Great Henge, drawing them a card, gaining life, putting a counter on their creatures. But hopefully it's a little less efficient than ours. I think I'm still waiting a little bit longer. I guess now I could attack with the zombie army and I kill something no matter how they block. I could trade with their 4-4, or I could trade with their 2-3 flyer if they double block with both of their 2-3s. How many cards are in their grave? 2 right now, so they are still not able to cast the Arachneer from the grave. We really need to prevent that from happening, because if they cast Arachneer from grave, it comes out with 4 power and shoots our flyer, our Regal Bloodlord, and kind of stops everything from going off. Actually, for that reason, I might just not attack for a long time. Because if I attack with anything that's big enough to kill the Arachneer, they can just block with the Arachneer. Get that ready to escape. Definitely going to be another long game here. The Tinkerer's Cube does lend itself to these kind of games. If one player is not playing a hyper-aggressive deck, this happens a lot. So if you've only watched my videos of the Tinkerer's Cube and you've never played it much yourself, then you may not actually know this about the Tinkerer's Cube. Oh, there's the Witch of the Moors. Absolutely phenomenal here. Now we have a definite game ender. We're going to start killing all their creatures over time. Even if they recast the Chainweb Arachneer to kill Regal Bloodlord, Witch of the Moors is still a ridiculous threat. Plus, I can use Witch of the Moors to bring back Regal Bloodlord to my hand. Super insane. But yeah, if you've only watched my videos of the Tinkerer's Cube, you might think it's like a really fast format forever and always, just because I played Mono Red so much. There's lots of board stalls with lots of chaining combo interactions going off. So that was a win, bringing us to 6 wins and 2 losses. So really solid run out of this Orzhov Life Gain deck. No matter what happens here, we're now up 1,000 gold. Kind of just continuing on with the really going infinite in terms of value out of the Tinkerer's Cube, for myself at least. Been having a great time in terms of win rate with it. It's been really fun too. It's been very interesting. I think I definitely like it better than the regular cube. And it's a really fun change of pace between regular competitive drafts as we wait for the launch of Kaldheim. It's been a fantastic month for drafters. We had the return of both of the Ravnica sets for a week apiece, so some nice variety there. And then we had Cube before that, and now we have the Tinkerer's Cube now. It's been a great time. Okay, we've got that turn 3 Mechagodzilla. I guess I play Grateful Apparition first, so that if Mechagodzilla gets a +1/+1 counter, I can proliferate there. That'd be pretty lucky, that'd be pretty fancy. Our opponent could have an Essence Scatter here, but I don't think I play around it. I could play Healer's Hawk and Rotom Unicorn to do that. I have Trusty Retriever, so if they counter it, I can just return it from my graveyard to my hand as soon as I hit 1 more mana. They do have Essence Scatter. But as I said before, we got their Trusty Retriever. We're super fine to just run that out. Opponent is on Sultai. Alright, Trusty Retriever. You got a second counterspell? If you have a second counterspell, I kind of want to just concede. Just 6 win. Alright, we got the value out. I am not ready to lose to 5 counterspells in a row again. I did not mentally prepare for this. Alright, so they did not have the counterspell for the Trusty Retriever, or they're holding it to counter when I cast Mechagodzilla. But that wouldn't make much sense. They just don't have a second counterspell there. Just cycling the Krosan Tusker for a land and a card draw. This card makes me kind of, I'm surprised by the Voracious Hydra here, just to kill Grateful Apparition. They know I have a Mechagodzilla coming up, so they must have more removal for that. I think I still just do it. I play that in a Healer's Hawk this turn. That curves out really well. Next turn I can play a Heliod the Sun Crown with a Lifelinker still on board, because if they have removal, they're going to use it on Mechagodzilla, not Healer's Hawk. Plus, worst case scenario, I can just cast Banishing Light next turn instead. Ruin Crab, okay. So our opponent is like Sultai, value, mill, counters. Sultai good stuff, for sure. Good stuff is always a strategy. Ooh, Vraska's Contempt. I want to hold on to that, just in case. Can the Gargoyle block? Can't attack, can't block unless you have 4 more cards in hand. So the Gargoyle can block. So do I just... If I'm going to kill the Gargoyle, I think I just do my Sorcery Speed Banishing Light. And then I can send in. Yeah. I like that. We've got Death Touch now on Mechagodzilla. Pretty cool. I can send in with everybody. They block Trusty Retriever, take 4. I assume. Not really worried about my opponent outracing me here, and I don't have anything that cares about my life total, so I've got enough life gain and life link to just survive over the course of a race. So I could just tap out all my creatures and maybe push an extra damage with like Trusty Retriever there. There's not much of a reason to just hold back. Ooh, Lord of Extinction. Well, that's going to get super exiled. Mega exiled. I could even just finish it. Since they milled that, I can get that little value there. I like that. That's pretty cute. And I can do that and play Rotom Unicorn here. Whereas if I have Vraska's Contempt, that's the only thing I play this turn. Yeah, it seems solid. Destroy Lord of Extinction, sacrifice Trusty Retriever. Send it with both. We got 21 cards in our library. We've got some time to fight off the Ruin Crab. We've got Death Touch Trample now. Death Touch Trample's a really good combo. So Trample is you have to assign lethal combat damage, but the rest of the damage you get to deal to your opponent's face. And Death Touch says that 1 damage is lethal combat damage. So if they block my Mechagodzilla with a 20/20, I can deal 1 damage to it and 2 damage to their face. That's how good Death Touch plus Trample is. Ghidorah, King of the Cosmos. Oh my god. Alright, we'll see what they get here. Selvala, that's fine. So, turning Ruin Crab into Ghidorah. Definitely going to kill that then, because that is all of their scariest threats all in one big stack there. Yep, just get out of here, Ghidorah. I don't want to deal with you. Or your nonsense. So if I send it with Mechagodzilla, I do kill both of their blockers. Do I get First Strike here? Menace? I kill both their blockers if they block Mechagodzilla, but then Mechagodzilla's gone. They only have 2 cards in hand. They take 1 there. Selvala could draw them cards. You know what? I'm going to send in Mechagodzilla. I'll take the trade if they offer the trade here. They don't. Just take the 4. All right, down to 6. I'm very surprised by that. I thought they would have done the double block there. Back for more. Lord of Extinction, fight with Mechagodzilla, and then Lord of Extinction dies. Or they're just fighting a Healer's Hawk, I guess. Nope, they're going to draw a card off Selvala and fight Mechagodzilla. Sure. Well, get out of here, Lord. And then an Ovia Pashiri. However the name is pronounced. I'm really bad at names. Alright, so now we have a Vicious Offering and a Heliod. Definitely playing Heliod pre-combat, so we get a +1/+1 counter when we hit. Vicious Offering on Ovia seems fine, but not really necessary. I'm going to be killing them with a flyer here. So I can just hold on to that for an instant speed removal spell. I can also just play Dreadhorde Invasion, get another attacker every turn. I think I like holding up my mana here. Vicious Offering, worst case scenario, can kill something up to 5 toughness. Alright, body double. I mean, if they just pick Lord of Extinction, that's super cute, but I'm 100% certain I can outrace that. Unless they kill Healer's Hawk as well. Oh my god. Oh yeah, Lord of Extinction plus Selvala, they get 16 mana, however they want. Mythos of Aluna, so it gets to fight something when it comes into play. Good lord. Well, that went about as bad as it possibly could here. Fight the Healer's Hawk, draw another card off Selvala. I guess I should have Vicious Offering Selvala earlier, but the only chance I would have had to do that was before they untapped. Oh, I guess I could do it in response to the body double. Yeah, I just did not realize how good of a combo that was going to be there. That's pretty ridiculous. Now they've got an Affectionate Indrik as well to fight with Rotom Unicorn. Well, they had Affectionate Indrik in their hand anyway, so they already had a way to kill our Healer's Hawk, so no matter what, we were getting our turn with basically nothing on our board. I can -2 the Indrik to keep my Unicorn around, but that doesn't seem... There seems like no reason to do that. I'm just going to gain some life. Well... That was a pretty insane way to lose. I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't see the line to kill Selvala there. because it's way cooler to lose this way than to just like kill Selvala. Okay, they get a 19-19 and then they play Affectionate Indric to kill our only creature that matters. That would have been a way more boring way to lose. They just Affectionate Indric the Healer's Hawk and just start hitting me for 19. It's like, whatever. I think it's a lot cooler that I just gave him like infinite mana. That being said, if we were playing to win, we would have Vicious Offering Selvala if I saw the line, but I didn't see the line, and we would have lost the game anyway. So it's all good. Alright, well, that has ended this Tinker's Cube Draft 1 with a nice, crisp 6-3 run. Didn't quite make it to the 7, but we got some bonus gold out of there, some bonus gems, thanks to getting a duplicate card there. Dragon's Horde and Skyrider Patrol. So you do get exclusively, like, historic cards out of the rewards here, so pretty interesting if you want to build up your collection for Historic or Historic Brawl. But anyways, at the end of the video, as always, I would like to thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more of this content, stick around right where you're at. There will be more Magic Arena drafts every day. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.